just a little more prep on the body, then we can install the quarter panel.
All right, so I've done a lot of thinking, and remember, I'm an engineer, so I overthink stuff. But this area was gone and rusted from here down, just terrible. And so a lot of the metal, where I decided to say cut off and be my, this is good metal here and that's shit metal there, right? Well, after making those calls, when I started to do my welding of little repair patches into various areas, this is all new, Rimmer Brothers or Moss, I can't remember. But some of the welds were just blowing out because the material was not as solid as I thought it was. It was kind of half, whatever. So anyways, I've done all the repairs and welded them to where they need to be welded, and it's pretty good. So I'm sure I'm just kind of overthinking it and overreacting, but what I've decided to do is, in some of the critical areas, this one being critical because all the loads that are coming through the sill are being distributed through this panel, right? But they're also coming directly here. And the only thing that's here, really, is a couple of flanges that are overlapped, and then this piece of panel that came down. It has all these contours in it. So there was really only that one panel absorbing that load. And yes, you can think of loads as basically water, and imagine that the metal is like a paper towel or something, so you can see the flow of it absorbing the water. Okay, that's how you want to imagine the loading. So the loading came in here and was being distributed into all of this structure that is touching, right? Which is a lot, don't get me wrong. But right in this area is where I welded in a patch about this big and then said, okay, from here up is good material. Well, maybe it wasn't quite that good all the way, right? So I've put in a shear plate or a doubler, there's a couple of different names for it, where I'm just reinforcing this area with another piece of metal just to help move those loads and stiffen this area up better. I'm thinking I might do it here too, because again, this was all rusted away, and this is going to have a lot of rocks hitting it and things being thrown up at it. I might put a similar like doubler panel just maybe up here and over this lip right here. I'm thinking of doing that because I'm really impressed with this this panel bond. It's super duper like metal glue. It's awesome. So might do that again. Similarly, I did it at the back end too, because again, this is where you have the two inner wheel wells are welded along a seam here. It comes down, and if you remember, all of this area was gone on mine, and similar to the front, this area is where all the loads of the sill are absorbed, are handled, attached. So again, I've put in a doubler / shear plate here, panel bonded in. I'll be machining off the heads of the screws, etc. Because again, this is where everything comes in and culminates. I want this to be very stiff, good metal, where the loads can get distributed throughout this area evenly. And I've done the same thing on the other side. So that's what these are. You won't notice them in the end. They'll all be sanded and nice, and this will all be 2K epoxied. And then I'm going to be putting the truck bed liner over this to give it that nice texture, and it'll cover up a lot of imperfections in here. It'll look beautiful. All right, so as far as sealing the sill, you've seen all or where the rain gets in, so it comes, you know, from the hood and through this area. It runs down here on both sides, collects down here, goes in through any cracks or bad welds or, you know, whatever's going on in here, comes through holes like that and settles under the carpet, goes through that seam where the floor pan is connected and ends up in here, right? And it collects right down in here. Again, there's a couple of weep holes along here, but you know, it just is in here, right? So that's why these are always just rotted to hell on every MGB you see. So in terms of where to seal, you just got to use common sense. I just explained the water's coming down here. It's sitting on the top of this. So, you know, for sure you want to put some here. You want to put some here. On the other side also, you want to do it the same. Maybe in here, just anywhere. Just put that shit everywhere, right? This is all hidden under the fender anyway, so who cares if you got, you know, loads of this stuff on. You don't need anything here really, or here. And again, as I said, there's a weather strip or a rubber strip that covers this whole thing all the way. Does it go all the way up? I can't remember if it goes all the way up, but certainly to here. So water getting in here is not really a problem, but as soon as you're here now, the water's coming on both sides of this panel. It's coming down here, you know, and then it might be going in here, right? And I'm for sure it is going in here. So you want to seal all that, right? That's why I have this gooped in all over here. So just know that, right? And the last thing I'm going to do, and I described this in a previous episode, but there's a little panel that goes here. Yeah, it's behind you. It comes with the rocker panel or sill kits when you buy them as a kit with the inner and outer and the castle rail, and it all comes as one, and you get this little guy. And at first you might not know what the hell to do with it, but then you realize after a while it goes here, okay? But it goes inside, and I can get it in like that. You know, it'll go in there and I'll be able to weld it, puddle weld it, or I have a little welder, a spot welder. I might try that here. But the moral is, at the factory, this is put on with this assembly. The whole rocker panel is a sub-assembly that just lowers in and connects the back half of the car to the front half of the car. The castle rail is put in first between the two, and then this just comes in, boom, and it's pre-assembled. So they have opportunity to weld this in correctly. When you're retrofitting a rocker panel onto a rusty car, we don't have that luxury. We have to do it in a specific order, which I've outlined, but it's basically inner sill, castle rail, medium membrane or stiffener web, whatever you want to call it, then outer sill, right? Because we have to be able to puddle weld along seams, grind them down, mate parts together, puddle weld those. So we have to go in a particular order that they don't have to do at the factory, right? As a result of that, not so easy to put this little piece in, right? But the other benefit of waiting is now I have access, and if I had a light, I could shine it down there and it is unobstructed all the way to the front of the car, right? So that allows me to put in, snake in materials, such as this. Okay, Amazon special here, but it's got a tip on it that's got multiple holes in it, so you can, you know, it sprays in all directions. You can use it for, you know, lots of different things. So what I'll be doing is I'm using an elastic polymer, and then Flex Seal is an example of that. It's not what I'm using, but there's lots of roof coatings, plumbing coatings, anything that's an elastic polymer. I'm going to shoot it into this guy and just coat the whole thing. Okay, so this whole outer tube, because remember the sill is divided in two halves by the middle membrane, right? So the outer compartment will be completely flooded with that elastic polymer. It will flow out of these weep holes, and it will eventually clog the weep holes. It's kind of a thicker material, but I can get in, you know, through the outside and clean it up so there is still a hole here. All right, so that's not a problem. But what it will be doing, because it's not really thick, it will run down the side and it will fill this seam, right, completely. And that's the one that really gathers the moisture and just starts to rot away. So I'll be happy knowing that this seam, all the way from up here, is just filled with a rubber material. And again, then I'll punch out these weep holes so it still can drain. Similarly, the castle rail, which is your next culprit, it has its bleed holes here. So I'll be able to stick that tube up through here. I might have to make one bigger, I'm not sure yet. But just snake that up and similarly coat the inside of the inner compartment. And again, any excess will drain out of these holes, but that's good. These are big enough holes that it won't clog them, and it'll just kind of coat the edges of it. So there will be no exposed metal on the inside. And with that, I will be happy knowing that I've done as much as I can to make the insides of these things watertight. The next mission is to coat the inside of the outside of the sill assembly. I'm going to be spraying an elastic polymer throughout the entire interior of this. It's semi-thick, so it doesn't matter. It'll either pour through the outlets along this lower edge, and even if it doesn't, I can go in after the fact with a knife and clean out the holes, so to speak, so I'll get my drainage back. But I want that, I really want it to settle in on this literal seam right here. I know it's dark, but you know, the seam where the inner sill, the membrane, and the outer sill comes together. I want it to fill that completely, because that's where the water gets into that weld. Doesn't matter if it was from the factory or after the fact, it doesn't matter. Water gets in there and it just sits there for forever and rots out that seam. And that's the main culprit of the problems with sill rot. So I want that whole thing, whole inner tube coated. All right, impromptu product review. I bought this thing, I don't know, 30 bucks, 40 bucks off of Amazon. It came with this hose, and they claim it's for spraying coatings under cars and into cavities and stuff. And this is a piece of shit. I don't know how to put it any better. It's working off of Venturi, right? So it's, you know, air pressure passing through across here is sucking things up. versus a pressurized sprayer. But without the hose on, it can maybe pull some fluids up and spurt them out. But as soon as you put that hose on, which comes with the kit, nothing. And I even tried it with water, thinking that, oh, maybe my stuff was too thick, and I got nothing. So I don't know if this one's broken, but I don't know. So anyways, I've had to come up with something in a pinch. So I got my brake plunger, because this is off pressure, and then I've just retrofitted the fitting onto it. This is the that tip that came with that shitty gun, which sprays kind of in 5 directions. And I'm snaking it down there, and I'm just plungering fluid in there. Again, it doesn't have to be pretty. No one's ever gonna see this, ever. I just need to make sure I get this lower trough to fill in, which it will, because the fluid will settle in there and just seal that thing. I might have to go back in and open up the holes, but we'll see. Not a lot to see, but impromptu kit is feeding it in. And this is kind of thick elastomeric material, so I'm just pushing against the ground. Alright, I bonded this panel in for added load distribution through this fender and sill assembly. And though I trust the panel bond, nothing beats a good mechanical fastener, because if anything wants to give in here, it'll be a shearing motion. And by adding a fastener in, it's got to shear through all the fasteners themselves. So I'm using stainless steel, because if you use aluminum, it will react with the steel. Alright, so here's one of those doublers or shear panels or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to put it in this area here, because again, I just want to beef up this area here. I'm going to make another one here also, but because I thought this one would be good enough, and it probably will be, but you know, better safe than sorry, because again, this is where everything gets kicked up and hits right here in the back of the fender here, back of the fender well. So I guess I'll show you the panel bonding experience, but it's just like putting on glue or caulk or anything. And then I use self-tapping sheet metal screws to hold it in place till it dries. And then, like you saw in the previous ones, I'll rivet those into place, and this will be stronger than it ever has been. So tools needed, one of these. I'm using the 3M. I think there's one or two other brands, but you know, these guys probably invented this stuff, so it's proprietary. Just FYI, you can really trust this stuff. It's a modified version of what they literally glue airplanes together with, so I'm fairly trusting of it. Airplanes are all aluminum, so it's a slightly different mixture, but they've pretty much got the tech down. So I need to just do some more prep. I've scoured this with, I think, 80 grit, maybe 36. You just want it to get a bite. Whenever they talk about adhesives getting a bite, they're talking about little scratches and ridges in the material, the plates you're trying to bond, so that the adhesive can go into those cracks and make a mechanical adhesion. So that's why you scuff up all the areas you're going to be gluing. So I need to still scuff this area. Let's do that. In this case, I'm using 36 grit. couple of things just to point out as I'm going very slow with the spinning, because I want to cut deep grooves. I don't want to, even at 36 grit, you can kind of polish it if it's, you know, hauling ass at super high RPM. But real slow, you're literally just digging gouges into the metal. And plus I don't want to remove metal, so again, I just want to etch it. Right? All right, we're ready to go. So it says to put a bead on your project. Notice it's a mixing tube. It swirls it as it goes down. They say don't use the first tip of it, although they just want you to waste it. I don't believe that, but all right. Anyways, here we go. So I'm gonna go around the periphery. Some of this shit here. I'm gonna put some on here. I've got about with this particular mixture, I get about 90 minutes of playtime, so you don't have to rush. Alright, so there's that first coating, and then they say to do this kind of distribution of it. So that's that, and I'll do the same thing here. Just so it just kind of maintains so that any contact anywhere will glue, because this is slightly deformed and bent and warped, as is the piece in my hand. So that's what this coat does. I guess I'll just point out also, this stuff has, sometimes it's called micro balloons or whatever, but it's small small beads in it that are there purposely. Now I'm going to go around the periphery per instructions, because you want to witness squeeze out, so that you know at least it's bonded around the edges. All right, so that's that. Not too messy. Where's my screwdriver? All right, so self-tapping screws, and then just go to town. Since it's pretty thick, it'll kind of stay in place now. That's what we're looking at there. So let's maybe blast one in here. Okay. Let's go in here. Pull that in. Could have drilled holes and put clecos in, but decided to go this route. These have more PSI of pull power than a cleco does, so you're better off with this when you need tighter clamping. Thank you. There is a plate that comes down here, kind of holds the fender in position. It's got a seal around it. So like here's one hole, two holes. I'll have to find that one and drill it through. There's another one here, so no big deal. Can all be done. So yeah, I'll just smooth this out where the squeeze out occurred. Aesthetic reasons only. You can sand this stuff after the fact. It's just like putting Bondo on or a sealer. I think we're good. Good in there, good in there, good in there. I'm gonna put one right here because I got a little bit too much gap right there. Let's pull that one in just a little bit. Alright. With that, we are good to go. This takes 24 hours to dry. I gotta pick up another piece of sheet metal. So to date, I've probably put in 2 panels, 2 replacement pieces of sheet metal that were about 2 feet by 3 feet. So I've got 12 square feet of metal that I've replaced here and there. The footwells took a majority of that because it was a big piece like this. And then these are fairly big. The rest is just little knit parts here and there. But I need one more piece to make this piece and the similar one on the other side. So here's that piece that I'm going to make for this side. It comes up, duplicates this piece or doubles this piece, seals this joint here, and then bends up into here, which was good metal. This was new metal, but I want to double that and wrap out onto the bottom here. So this will be extremely strong. This whole region will be stronger than it was from the factory. All right, so I went from the paper template to the actual part. There's the template on top of it, so to speak. And then after some coercing, it's gonna fit in there just fine. I'm gonna sheet metal that in with the panel bond. That's gonna be really rigid and good.
Bye everyone. I can't wait to get that quarter panel installed.